Of all your recordings, what is your own personal favorite? Set aside for the moment what sold the best or anything.
Sure.
Your own personal favorite.
I think I probably would have to choose the last record we did, Clockwork Angels. And you know, every artist says their most favorite is their most recent, and I don't mean just to do that, but there's something about that record that seemed to be a maturation and accumulation of all the various different versions of Rush that we have been over 40 years, seemed to come together in a really natural way on that record. And I think the songwriting is our strongest and our playing is the most confident. So there's something about that record that's really still I'm quite proud of. I consider myself to be someone that feels the clock ticking a little bit. And I think that's because I lost my dad early on, and my parents came from a situation of, you know, horror in Europe through the war. And so I've always had this appreciation for getting the most out of the day, getting the most out of the minute. So I have a lot of interests, and I try to follow those interests, and I try to embrace the world. We've talked a little bit earlier about travel and how travel with work is something you just get used to doing, but I can't stop traveling. I'm an inveterate traveler, and since I've been on this sort of extended hiatus, let's call it, my wife and I have been traveling non-stop and going to places in the world because she loves to travel too, and I've done all the more fun traveling with the band. And so now I'm trying to catch up with her. So I'm a person that really appreciates the amazing things that are out there to be discovered. I like bird watching, for example. I love art, as you can see looking around my home. I love vintage furniture. I love vintage instruments. So I have a lot of passions, and a lot of things catch my interest, and I have a very short attention span as a result of that. But I'm also a family guy and a friend guy, and I make all the time I can for my pals, and I treasure my friendships. They really mean a lot to me. I was blessed with two amazing kids, and I missed a lot of my son's early years because of being on the road, and since seeing the light about that, I like to think that I've made up for it, and I've tried to be a good dad to him, and now he's a dad, so now I'm spending time being a granddad, learning all about that. And my daughter came along 14 years later, same wife, but my wife said to me, well, if you're going to be on the road as much as you were with my son, then I'm not having a kid till you slow down. So that was a good motivation for me to slow down and to tour less. Much to the chagrin of our fans. A lot of times fans ask me, how come we didn't play this country? How come you didn't play that country? And it's because I'm trying to keep a life together.
And you've been together as a band for, what, more than 4 decades?
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
The same group of people holding together. And your fan base is well known as maybe the most loyal fan base in all of rock and roll. Now, my question is, what's the secret to this longevity?
I think I was blessed with meeting two people that, at their core, were considerate people. As far back as I remember, I can't think of a single ego trip that either of my partners ever went on. We just are blessed with nice personalities, you know. The curse of being Canadian is being nice, right? We always say sorry. So I think that's helped a lot, frankly, because, and there's only 3 of us, and 2 against 1 isn't fair, so we never gang up on each other, and when 2 of us do gang up on the other one, even if it's in humor, we always feel a little guilty afterwards. And at the core of it, we share a rock-solid friendship. Early on, we would have these discussions. For example, when someone had written a song, say Alex and I, only 2 of the 3 of the members had written a song, and we had to divide the song for publishing credits and things like that. And we would get in these conversations about, well, you wrote that part, I wrote this part, and it just seemed dumb. So we made a decision very early on. He said, look, the three of us are working on these songs equally. Whether the germ of the idea came from one or two, who cares? They're a product of the three of us. So let's just agree right now that we will split everything, you know, a third, a third, a third, and we never have to talk about it again. And we said, agreed. And so we never, ever had to have that discussion again. And I think that was a big, you know, weight taken off our shoulders, really. It allowed us to focus on the music and not worry about those other things. Now, also, along the way, there have been difficult times. I'm not going to say that it was always sunny and cheery. Before we did our 2112 album, our Crest of Steel album was not doing well, and support for us out on the road was drying up. And the record company thought, well, maybe this was a bad investment. These guys are just getting too weird. And we were sort of faced with, you know, maybe we got one more record they're going to do for us and we'll see what happens. And so it was difficult, but we didn't lose our sense of humor through it all. And we came back by making the 2112 album, which ended up being a breakthrough record for us. And so it just sort of helped us gird ourselves in a way and stick together. But I think the friendship thing is no small part of it.
Well, you used a phrase I hadn't heard before. You said, well, the three of you think of yourselves as the world's smallest symphony orchestra. For someone who's watching and listening to this and doesn't know you or your music very well, what's the inside joke of we're the world's smallest symphony orchestra?
Well, okay, so to the uninitiated, we began life as a three-piece rock band, you know, playing quite loudly. And the music was energetic, and as we got older, we started adding more and more complex arrangements. And then prog rock was starting to become a thing, and they were bringing these instruments like synthesizers, and bands were making records with orchestras. And we kept trying to figure out a way to bring those elements into the band, but not have other musicians. You know, we wanted to do it ourselves. And I think we were always, you know, very defensive about maintaining the troika, the three-man thing. Right. It's okay to bring a new sound into the band, a new idea, but we somehow have to generate that sound ourselves. So, and we became this sort of strange amalgamation of influences. I started playing keyboards. Alex started adding foot pedals. Neil started actually adding, you know, electronic drums that could trigger very different sounds.
Right.
And slowly that joke of being the world's smallest symphony orchestra was starting to become a reality, because we could bring orchestral music and textures into this three-piece hard rock thing. So that became quite a challenge and quite a lot of fun for us on stage too.